Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting. As we always do, we'll start out with our invocation and pledge. And at this time is Father Mike Brady with Christ Episcopal Church here.
Yes, he is.
Yes, there he is. Thank you. Thought I saw you. We'll come up and we'll say the prayer, and if everyone please stand, and then we'll join all veterans in the audience to do the pledge.
Let's take a moment and place ourselves in the presence of God Almighty. God of grace and God of glory, in your word you've given us a vision of that holy city to which all nations of the world bring their glory. Behold and visit, we pray, the cities of the earth, but especially the city of Bradenton. Renew the ties of mutual regard which form our civic life. Send us honest and able leaders. Enable us to eliminate poverty, prejudice, and oppression so that peace may prevail with righteousness and justice with order, and that men and women from different cultures with differing talents may find the fulfillment of their humanity with one another. Send down upon us those who hold office in this city. Give them the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they might faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. We ask this through the blessed name of Jesus Christ, your Son, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, and thank you, Father Brady. We'll call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
We do not have any proclamations this morning. Item 4A is the Florida Contraband Forfeiture Grant Program Awards.
Chief Bevins, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is one of my favorite times when we can basically give money away to organizations that are incredibly deserving. Just to give you all some background on this, to date, I began this program in 2017, and you're the ones who actually approved the expenditures. To date, Council has approved $120,000 to be given to organizations within our community. Now, I'll tell you, it's a forfeiture seizure program, but we don't always stick within the rules. The rules specify that you have to give up to 25%. On average, we crest 40%. We think it's that important that we share those proceeds from the bad guys with the people who are the good guys. And so, again, this is a great program. Just to give you a little bit more history, this is our 7th annual. The proceeds must be utilized to improve neighborhood safety, promote crime prevention, drug education, drug treatment services, or school resource officer programs. We are today awarding $16,500 to 11 organizations. This is the most organizations who applied. It was a difficult year. I had to, unfortunately, say no to a few just to support our account so we can support some other organizations later in the year. But I'm sure that no matter what we give, it helps a lot. So I know we have a full agenda. I'm going to keep it going pretty quickly. We're just going to bring them up. I'm going to let them say a few words. I'll take a picture with them, and at the very end, we'd like to get a group picture with everybody here. So if you guys receive money, stick around, please. So the first person is going to be Michael Wood, Development Director of Outcomes and Grants for Boys and Girls Club of Manatee County. Here you go.
I'll cede the floor to Don Stanhope.
Oh my gosh. So if it weren't for Michael, it would probably be really hard to access these funds because he does an extraordinary job of trying to really cut to the chase on what the impact is of Boys and Girls Club. And I would tell you that a picture is worth 1,000 words and then some, in that when we see our police officers and our mayor come out to the club and they're having fun with the kids and they're rewarding them for improving their academics and working really hard during the year, it goes so far beyond what their school day is, right? It's building those relationships in the community. It's having them feel like they have a sense of accomplishment and purpose, and they're our future leaders. So thank you for investing in them, and we really appreciate this partnership.
Absolutely. So,
Thank you.
absolutely. Don't go anywhere. Okay, next, we have Patricia Johnson, Secretary Treasurer, Bradenton Gladiators Football. I'm going to talk about how wonderful she is later, by the way. So I know.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Johnson, and I serve on the Board of Directors of the Bradenton Gladiators. On behalf of the Gladiators, I would like to thank you so much for this wonderful grant. It helps us do what we need to do. The Gladiators have had a long-standing relationship with law enforcement. One of our original founders, Eddie Starling, served with the Manatee County Sheriff's Office for over 25 years prior to his passing. We celebrate and continue his legacy with our ongoing relationships with law enforcement. The Gladiators' mission is to promote education, to teach important life lessons, to foster strong character development, and to achieve academic excellence through sports. I'd like to take a moment to just touch on the life lessons portion of that. We sometimes have a situation where people discount the value of sports. They do not realize the following. We are nurturing and building student athletes. Students are expected to maintain their grades in order to participate in our programs. They're expected to balance education with these extracurricular activities. As adults, we refer to that as work-life balance, right? That's something that we're all striving for. We're teaching time management and punctuality. We're teaching responsibility and accountability. We are instructing our students how to participate in the ultimate group project. That's what I like to refer it to. Their project team is comprised of 11 students that all have a specific portion of the assignment they're responsible for. They come from different walks of life. They come from different backgrounds and nationalities. And they have to learn and understand that we do not make it if we don't work together. We are not successful if we do not work together. Amen. So that is the ultimate life lesson that as a member of this community and a hiring manager in Bradenton, we would like to see our people work together for a common great goal. And so with that in mind, thank you so much for this grant.
Thank you.
Oh, here you go. Take your money.
Stay there. Stay there. David, stay there.
Okay. Next, something a little bit near and dear to me, the Bradenton Police Department Explorer Program. And, well, I'm sure he's going to introduce some. This is not all of our advisors, but some of them that could make it here. This is obviously in addition to their normal duties. This is their volunteer work, and I'll tell you, we've had an Explorer program for many, many years, and the numbers that we have now, the caliber of folks that I'm seeing in there, it's never been more robust, and it's because of these folks here.
Thank you, Chief. On behalf of Manager Knight, all the Explorer advisors, and our 15 Explorers that we have currently, and reaching out to more, I would like to say thank you to you all and to Chief. We know that we are a program that are near and dear to her heart. This is a program for students age 14 to 19 years old. They pay no dues to be able to be in this program, even though that we equip them with uniforms and equipment, and that's on the Chief's direction. She didn't want them to have to pay to be in this program. The only thing she would direct us to do is have them pay it forward, and so they bring food items, non-perishable food items, to donate every month so that we can pay it forward, the dues. But this program is one of the most robust programs that we've ever seen as an advisor since the time that I've been serving. And the money will go to pay for the uniforms, it'll pay for the equipment, pray for the training opportunities, pray for leadership development, and it will pay for team building opportunities. In the program, they receive the same type of training that our officers receive when they go to the academy, and that's our goal, is to not only develop the future leaders of the city, but develop the future leaders of this agency. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Making an impact, Victoria.
Bring that up when you get your comments. Just then it's, it's kids, 'cause most of it's kid-based.
Good morning
Morning.
Morning.
to our esteemed council and Chief Bevan. Thank you so much for this opportunity and this grant. Making an impact, you have our information in front of you, and I'm sure you are familiar with our organization. We are a local, all-volunteer nonprofit dedicated to helping residents find basic needs services in Sarasota and Manatee County. Our mission is to empower people with information and insight to help those who need help find organizations that actually provide it. We have 3 resource guides: a basic needs resource guide, a disaster resource guide, which will be used quite a bit in the near future, and our newest guide is a prescription savings resource guide. It's used by most health and human service agencies, almost all of our law enforcement agencies, and faith institutions. I am proud to say at this time we have over 7,000 printed guides in circulation. And people can view our guides online in over 20 different languages. This grant that we are getting today has been requested actually by the Manatee County Housing Authority. A few years ago, we actually gave free guides to residents at one of the Manatee Housing Authority facilities, and we got a call and request, could we get more guides? And we're an all-volunteer organization. We didn't have the money. I said, well, let me look into that. And so I am proud to say that this grant will go actually to the Manatee County Housing Authority facility. It will be used to address and tackle poverty, the issues related to poverty, hopefully then making our neighborhoods more safe and prevent crime. Today I have with me Cindy Kane, who is a service coordinator, is a service coordinator at Manatee County Housing Authority. Ms. Kane will share with you just a few words with why they wanted these resource guides.
Hello, I'm Cindy. I'm a ROS coordinator, which is a Resident Opportunity and Self-Sufficiency Program coordinator. I work with our 2 public housing communities, Lake Terrace and Pine Village, and they have, when they have had access to this guide, they love it. We are thrilled to get this grant. We are thrilled to be able to provide these guides free to our people. They use it for a myriad uses. They are the lowest of the low income among us, and they just are looking for ways to provide for their families, for their own self-sufficiency. Many of our residents are older, and they're just trying to continue to remain living independently on their own. I've had clients who have gone to the book and found that they could get blood services to come in and help them, so they can't get out in their car, they can't get out to the doctor, they can't get to the place that draws blood, and they're able to have that come in. From food insecurity to addiction issues to all manner of things related to education and helping families to just get a leg up. This book is great, and it's so cross-referenced. It's wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Krista Post, Manatee Children's Services.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you got, okay, here we go. Short people problems.
Sports car abled.
Oh, thank you. I like that. My name is Krista Post, and I'm the Development Coordinator of Manatee Children's Services. And here with me today, I have Celeste Martins. She is our Clinical Director. She oversees our treatment program for children, which I'll explain in a moment. But Manatee Children's Services is a child advocacy center that started in 1977. Our founder actually was a social worker herself, and she was having to take children back to her office in the middle of the night who had been removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect because there was no shelter for them. So she saw this obviously as a big problem and had the vision to start our community's first emergency shelter. Since then, we have expanded to offer not only the shelter that's still standing, but long-term group homes, advocacy and intervention after child abuse allegations. We have our treatment program to help victims heal and offer therapeutic interventions so that they can help overcome some of what they've endured, and our prevention program, which is an ongoing effort out in the community to ideally prevent child abuse from happening in the first place. So I will turn it over to Celeste to share what your funding is doing for us.
And thank you. I want to say very much thank you for the funds. They are going to pay for testing tools. With our emergency shelter and with our group homes, those children come out of homes where DCF has removed them. And many of them come with us or come to us with drug addiction and drug problems. These funds will help us to be able to test, to be able to identify children that need intervention. We need to teach prevention so that we can reduce the risk of drug and alcohol within our children that we have housed within our 3 group homes and our emergency shelter. And so we're very thankful for them because it will pinpoint areas that we need to target in on our children in order to reduce that risk and to also reduce the use of drugs and alcohol. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where am I here? Drina Green, Manatee County Girls Club Just for Girls, and up next after them is going to be the new Manatee Broncos.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
As she said, my name is Drina Green, and I am the program administrator for Just for Girls. Just for Girls has been serving Manatee County for the last 55 years with its sole purpose of helping girls reach their full potential. So I wanted to take a moment this morning to thank you for your support, Chief, and the city of Bradenton. As we believe that achievement begins with access, this grant helps us provide scholarships for those girls that are deserving, whose families are struggling, not necessarily what we consider always at or below the federal poverty guideline, but as we know, ALICE families are those families that are still struggling as well. The demographics for our families are household of 5, 1 single mother, 4 kids, $22,000 is the annual income. So we do know that that's a challenge, but we do believe that them having access to our programs that are rooted in academics, behavior, and character is the key to their achievement. So we won't let finances or struggles be their reason that they don't access our services. And we're able to do that with your help and this continued support of this board. So thank you so much.
Coaches, come on down.
Good morning. We're with the New Manatee Broncos. I'm new to the group. I've been here for 2 years. Just to give you a little background about our league, Coach, we've been involved here with youth football and cheerleaders since 2016. Our mission is to serve and empower our young boys and girls in this community to be great student athletes. But the thing I wanted to touch on is the thing that resonates with me. I'm not from this community. Just to give you a little bit of background, I moved here from Nashville. My son got to play at IMG. And I fell in love with these volunteers because of servitude. They serve these children, these boys and girls and their parents for free, and their effort is relentless. And I just fell in love with it. And so I'm proud to be a part of them, proud to be a part of this community. I thank you guys for your support. Your support will help build our, what we call our mission statement for our kids, which is Dream, Evolve, Become. These funds will be used to foster dreams, as we'll be taking, for the second time, we'll be taking 60 kids with us to the University of Miami to explore the football program. You know, there's no ifs or ands or buts about it. Football is a destination for our young men and for our young ladies now, since they can get scholarships in flag football all over the country. So we use the platform of football to encourage our student athletes to dream, to evolve, and to become the citizens that we need them to be here in the city of Bradenton. So we thank you guys. I want these guys to introduce themselves to you as well, since they are from here.
Hey, I'm Jovan Carter. I'm the Vice President of New Manatee Broncos.
I'm Enrico Johnson. I'm the Athletic Director for the New Manatee Broncos.
And coaches, just so you know, if you get tired of driving south, there's a couple of us up here that have contacts a little bit to the north.
Is that right?
You can let us know about that. And the other thing is you've got 3 former cheerleaders sitting up here. Just so you know.
And if you really need help, we can get you to the University of Florida. So.
Already wearing the colors.
Next, we have Christy Haley, Pace Center for Girls, and just to, that was pretty good, the football stuff. You know, these guys get frustrated with the Bradenton Police Department year after year after year because every year they reach out and they say, hey, let's have our kids play your officers. And they can't even finish the sentence. I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You will beat us. We will get injured. This is no competition. So we love seeing them here year after year.
Good morning.
Morning.
For y'all UF fans, Gig'em, we did beat you, sorry. Okay, so I'm Christy Haley with Pace Center for Girls. This is Katie Reeves, she's our Community Engagement Manager. First of all, we are so thankful for all of you. As you know, Pace helps girls, we're a school who helps girls who are struggling academically. They come to us for free and we help them overcome those obstacles to success. But as you well know, that's expensive. And a lot of the extras we can't afford without grants from people like, I'm not going to say Mayor Bevan this year, Chief Bevan. I promoted you last year, I do believe. We are using most of this funding for our Red Ribbon Week, which does help us prevent drug and alcohol usage. We're going with a theme this year of I Believe in Me. So our first day is I Believe in myself, me. Every girl's going to get a sweatshirt that says I believe in me in big bold print on the back. So as they are walking down the halls, they are going to see every girl there really encouraging each other, helping each other understand that this is important, and making sure that they're all staying drug-free. We're moving on to I believe in community, I believe in my team, and I believe in my future. So every day we'll have a different theme. We'll have leaders coming in. We'll have panel discussions from former PACE girls who were drug addicted and who overcame and found their own success. So I'm super excited about that. This also promotes our Growth and Change program. Katie has some of our full little envelope packets. If you want to pass those out so they can just share them and see them. Those all help for our goal setting. It's not just about the academics. Our girls have to set goals, work with their counselors, and move forward. So thank you so much for this. We truly appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next up, we have Erica Keller, James Robinson from Rogers Garden Elementary School.
So I'm Misty Adio. I'm the school counselor, and unfortunately, our student support specialist, Erica Keller, could not be here today, and our guardian, who's our other co-sponsor, also cannot be here today, so our apologies. But I am here, and thank you so much for this generous grant. We are so deeply honored and excited to continue the mission of Say Promise Club, which is to create a safer, inclusive community for our students, and of course, the beautiful city of Bradenton. This support will enable us to continue our empowering our students to take an active role in preventing bullying and promoting kindness within our school community. With this money, we're going to be able to reach more students, offer more resources to our students with the critical practices of preventing bullying, self-harm, and school violence. We firmly believe that when students lead the way, and change happens from inside out. This grant will allow us to amplify those voices, ensure that everyone on our school campus feels safe, valued, and heard. So thank you for sharing our mission. We appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone for this opportunity.
Next, we have Jessica Ott with Special Olympics.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Special Olympics, a little bit of background about them. We have 75,000 athletes in the state of Florida, and we offer year-round sports training and competition, very critical health screenings, and athlete leadership programs. All of our programming is absolutely free, from uniforms, transportation, equipment, all of that. Special Olympics starts as young as 2 years of age, and it is within our school system and throughout our community. Here in Bradenton, our surrounding area, we have nearly 1,000 Special Olympic athletes that train and compete in 17 different sports. Currently, our athletes are training in powerlifting, gymnastics, flag football, softball, and pickleball. This grant will really help support our athletes in our area, and we just want to thank you to the Bradenton Police Department for this support of Special Olympics. We are really grateful for this grant and support, so thank you very much.
And last, but certainly not least, Shiante Josie with United Communities at 13th Avenue Dream Center.
Good morning. I am Keontae Josie. I'm the Executive Assistant and the Business and Development Manager at United Community Centers, which is 13th Ave Dream Center and the Manatee Mustangs. Our organization has been around since 1937. We are a grassroots organization, and our motto is that we build dreams and change lives. And the money that we are receiving through this grant is going to help us. We partner with Centerstone, and they will help us to teach our children about drug prevention. These days, all that's going on in the community, we all know what's going on. We have to keep our kids vigilant on drug prevention and crime prevention. So we keep them focused on what they need to be focused on at 13th Ave Community Center. Sorry, I didn't write my speech down.
You're doing great.
But we are very passionate about keeping our children focused, out of trouble, off the streets, off of drugs, so that we can build those dreams and change those lives, and that they can do the same thing going forward. So we thank you again for this grant.
Y'all are a fantastic council, and you do great things in the community. I come to every council meeting. I would argue that your generosity with these organizations is one of the best things you guys do as an elected body. It really doesn't get any better than that. You've heard the stories. You've seen what impact it is within these organizations. It's a wonderful thing. Two things. Elba, my assistant, couldn't do it without her. This is her project, her program. She looks forward to it all year, keeps us on track. So thank you, Elba. And while I'm talking about them, and if you all have any comments, I'm going to bring down my entire staff, because at the end of the day, it's these folks out on the street doing their job, arresting bad guys, taking away their proceeds from illegal activities that is funding these programs. It's not always easy. That means you guys have to start walking this way. I remain their biggest fan. These are the heroes out there. I stay usually warm and dry in my office since I got grounded a couple years ago. But these are the real heroes out there doing the heavy lifting, and so.
All right, council, any comments? All right, I'm just, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for always putting this together. I know the work that goes into it at Elba, wherever you're hiding over there. I know the work that goes into it. Thank you all so much. The messages, though, and I got to put my cheaters on. The messages from the different organizations: work together, dream, evolve, become, I believe. All of that is stuff that really is so empowering to our youth, and it's really impressive to have a community together really moving forward on this project.
Thank you, Councilman Kramer. Councilwoman Coker?
Yeah, I'm extremely impressed by the breadth of people that you brought together and have touched with. I mean, they obviously are the touch point to a lot of the youth and hopefully future leaders, and that's not easy. I'm, from my job, from putting my Kiwanis hat on, when we're looking to staff to get to the kids that for the Key Leader program. So I'd love for them to stay tuned and watch out for that program coming, because it'd be great for all these kids. So it's very impressive that you pulled it all together, and thank you. And thank you to all the organizations for what you're doing.
All right, I'll finish up with that part of it. And again, what Councilman Kramer said about obviously bringing people together, and that's the theme you heard throughout all of the 11 organizations. And it's all about children. What I know we do up here every day is thinking about the future and what we're going to make the generational things better. Because I'll use my Boys and Girls Club little saying, 25% of our nation is children, but they're 100% of our future. And if we don't put that into it every day, then we're not doing a good job at life as we get older. And I just think that, every little bit counts, and it really matters. And if we can take it from the bad guys and give it to the good guys, then we'll do that all day long. So we just appreciate what you do, and we appreciate what everyone in the community does to make our community better. So thank you. And now we want to get a picture, I think, don't we? Or you want someone?
Staff.
Yep.
Try to go in the back, and all the recipients come forward.
We'll stand up here.
I'll find a little crack.
Recipients all kind of squished. You see council back there? Thank you all very much for coming out, and we look forward to your grant submissions next year.
Just one final comment before everybody leaves. Please stay safe and heed all the warnings of what's coming. We don't want to take this tropical storm hurricane lightly. So please, all of our officers, stay safe as well as our community. Take care of everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give them 1 second to.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Yep, we'll take care of it. Thank you. Chief Gear, we're pushing off what we had talked about the other, right, okay. So, all right, Madam Clerk, I believe.
Citizen comment?
Yep. All right, at this time, we'll have citizen comments. Citizen comment will be accepted during the citizen comment portion of the meeting on any non-agenda item, future agenda item, or topic of relevance to the city. Comments will be accepted on public hearings at the appropriate time. And at the public hearing, you do not need a comment card, but for citizen comment, we do ask for a comment card. And we will stay on topic for the city of Bradenton. It's very important. So I only have one, and you have 3 minutes. If you come forward, say your name and your city of residence. Pat Simmons. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Pat Simmons. I live at 1833 60th Avenue West in Bradenton. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk with you. As you may hear, I have a voice disorder. It's neurological. I can't fix it, so it's thrown me into being an advocate for people with disabilities. I listened to all the awards today, and only one out of all of them had anything to do with people with disabilities. I watched the Paralympics. There were Harvard grads, there were parents, there were former vets, vets from the wars, and they played games that I've never even heard of before, like go ball and sitting volleyball. And there was a guy, my hero, they called him the armless archer, that he could hold the bow with his foot and pop the string with his mouth. And he won several gold medals. So it got me to thinking that there's so much more we can do in the city for people with disabilities, because as long I always say that Florida, the world is your oyster, as long as you can hear and walk and see and talk. But the minute one of those goes away, you get the oysters, we get the shell. future activities for us. So just wanted to introduce myself and let you know I'm here at your disposal. You want to know what a person with a disability wants or needs, ask us.
Thank you. Thank
We're
you.
the best to ask.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am, thank you. Don't have any other cards, so, any comments? And I just think I'll make a comment. I think that most of the awards that were given out today are applied for. So, you know, I know sometimes we can do a better job at maybe reaching out too. So that will be something I know our chief will look into, and getting with the Special Olympics obviously is very important. Over the years and years ago in high school and early on, you know, I did a lot with the Special Olympics, and I know all of us have, but it's more important to go roundabout and do what you can in all ways. So, but no, that's a great comments, and I think that's something to look into. Yes, sir.
If I could just say thank you so much for coming down. You're a tremendous advocate. You really are, and impactful. We actually do what we can as it relates to a lot of the public works projects for ADA compliance and other issues that deal with disabled challenges and the like. I wish we could do more. I think everybody does. And when you see an advocate come down and talk about it, it pulls at your heartstrings effectively and meaningfully. And we'll always be mindful of that, and we won't forget it. And we'll try to incorporate it as we operate local government, at least from the administration's perspective, to council.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I will say, you know, because I've been dealing with this on a personal level, I do think sometimes that a lot of those services, especially like day care type things, are out east. And a lot of services seem to have moved to the Lakewood Ranch. And I would like to see us start putting a little bit of just calling out to bring some of the things back to here. I recently went toward with Meals on Wheels, and that used to be, they would have the luncheons, you know, where it allowed for people to come together. They did crafts. It was a very social event. And now not one of those takes place in the city of Bradenton now. Now, I know I've spoken to them, and they're trying to find something in the city limits, but I do think we kind of need to beat the drum, and thank you. I know that was probably not easy for you to do that, and thank you for doing it and speaking very loudly for some people that can't speak for themselves, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Councilwoman Coachman?
I just wanted to just kind of add to what Councilwoman Coker just alluded to. That could definitely be something we could put in mind when we're working on City Park and bringing that community resource to the city. So thank you so much.
And one of the ultimate projects with City Park is Miracle Field. So that is something that is, you know, as we go down the road, you know, the organizations with Miracle Field are very well connected and going to be part of it, as well with the other parts of the park. So, yes, ma'am, Ms. Moore.
Well, I wanted to thank you too for your bravery in speaking here today and for bringing it to our attention. It is personal to me as well because of my family dynamic when I was growing up. But to Ms. Coker's point, I have been talking to people about things that we would, you know, have the general conversation of what do we want to see downtown? What do we want to encourage to bring downtown? And I did just have a conversation with a neighbor who was suggesting more community-based type of activities. And to your point about things being out east, I think it's just something that maybe we can consider when we're trying to think about type of, you know, not commercial for lack of a better word at the moment, but type of facilities or whatnot that we want to see as a part of kind of a, you know, hybrid of different things to offer in our downtown.
Vice Mayor Barnaby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for coming down. As we all recognize, it's difficult to get up and speak in public because it just is. Even for people that do it a lot, I still get very nervous. I understand. Did want to remind the community that the city of Bradenton did work with the Rotary organization, and that Lewis Park, which is located off of Manatee Avenue at First Avenue around 32nd to 30th Street, has an all-accessible playground. And it is set up for anyone, regardless of their age, to be able to come and enjoy the park, the nature, as well as the recreational activities, the playground equipment that is set there. It's for everyone. It's for children of all ages. Let me put it to you that way. So I want to again just thank the Rotary Club for being the spark that kind of got that going with us. And I know that. At that groundbreaking, once it was all open and everything, I looked at the mayor and I said, now we got a few more parks we got to get this to. So that is in the plans.
Yes, and that's very important to reiterate, as you're going to see as we go in this meeting. We don't sell ourselves well enough at times as a city, because when that project came through kind of a accidental, on-purpose way to us, and we brought it to the council. It took a little longer, but we were going to spend $70,000 at that park. We ended up spending over $1 million with the Rotary donation and the city's portions to make it. And I actually was there Monday night again with my granddaughter. And the last time I was there before that, there was a lady that actually drove down from Tampa, and she comes about once every week or two with her 26-year-old that hasn't smiled in many years. It always gets me, because knowing that we did something to help that family and her know that she has an opportunity to see her child smile because of his disability and what he does. And so the little things you remind us, which is great, and that's important, but we can always do more. So thank you. Moving on, Madam Clerk.
Item 6 is the consent agenda.
I move to adopt or approve the consent agenda items A through W, except for F and G.
Except for
Items 6F and 6G.
6F and G.
Yes.
And I would like to pull item 6K.
Is that acceptable to
Yes.
your motion? All right.
You need a second?
Kramer's was the second. You must have pulled A, you said, right?
K.
K.
K King. Okay.
All right, we have a motion to approve consent agenda by Councilwoman Moore, pulling F and G, and K by Councilwoman Kramer with the second. Is there any other discussion?
Is there a second? Oh,
Yeah, there's a second.
I'm sorry.
Yep, so we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
and 4.
Yes.
Okay, Councilwoman Moore?
Regarding the beach shop, I just was going to suggest that we modify the motion slightly because the lease assumption is not, an assignment is not yet finalized, that we include what we're approving is also approved by council. Because we haven't seen the actual, the actual assumption itself. So I just wanted to make sure that the motion included I move to approve the lease assignment and assumption as approved by council, and then to be executed by mayor.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm confused.
The document is not finalized yet, so normally when we have something like this, I feel like the motion is to approve it, And then we have confirmation that council has reviewed it, but because it's not finalized yet, I would just like to make sure that council for the city reviews the assignment and assumption.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I mean, that document, as far as I know, is finalized some time ago, so I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's just not in the packet, as far as I know.
Morning, Mayor and Council.
Yes.
Lori Fortin, Policy, Planning, Procedure, and Real Estate Administrator. The only reason it has not been executed by the other people is because the buyer does not want to buy unless he knows the council is going to approve it.
Oh, I see.
So that is the only thing.
Okay, so council, you guys already, okay.
So
Great.
just a motion
I didn't
to
realize
approve
that.
that?
Yep.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Moore to approve F. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. And then we'll start the vote and we'll.
Can we have discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this might be for Mr. Budasalt. Are we setting a precedence here by allowing them to just basically sublet it or just let them assume the lease? I just know we were very deliberate about selecting the people that we leased to and
Right.
what was gonna be there. I did have a discussion with Ms. Fortin and felt like she had reviewed all that and that we were not gonna be changing what was gonna be there. But I'm a little uncomfortable with just assuming these leases like this. And plus, I would like to reiterate that the hours of operation, especially during events and things like that, we've been kind of a little easy on that, and so anyhow, I just want to know if we're setting any precedents here.
Yeah, these are going to be on a case-by-case basis. I think ultimately the city council has a discretion. This is a scenario where the assignee who's coming in is going to continue what will be a very similar type of beach-oriented shop use, and that was something that we looked at when we were preparing the assignment documents to make sure that that type of use would continue. But no, I think this is something that could be looked at on a case-by-case basis.
And are we doing any type of background check on, I mean, like in real estate, a lot of times you have like an approval for, credit,
Well,
criminal history, that kind of stuff?
I can't
Anything
answer
like that
that
being
piece of
done?
it, but what I will say is, under the assignment provisions, the assignor is remaining liable under the lease, so they're not off the hook. We still have a personal guarantee from them.
Okay.
Any other comment on that?
I just wanted to clarify, and I thought that this would be something that would come to council each time anyway, right? So we could have that.
Well, previously, we had a management company that was doing it, and they took care of the credit history and the background checks and all that. And I don't believe that's being done now.
Oh.
I don't think we did very extensive background checks. I don't remember that being part of the process. As far as obtaining financials and things like that, I don't think we did it in the past. And as it was pointed out, I think one of the best things you have is a personal guarantee. So if the LLC goes kaput, bankrupt, then you go after the person's house. I mean, your recourse, you always look at recourse. And so on the lease term itself, recourse is fairly solid as a personal guarantee. One of the things is, and to your point regarding hours and things like that, is that it's been challenging, I think. And I've talked with a lot of the shop owners, as I'm sure most of us have at one point or another, and some do better than others. And some stay open longer than others, and we have been a little bit lax in enforcement of the strict hours of operation requirements that are contained in the lease, but we've done that intentionally. I don't run small retail businesses, and I don't think I ever have, but I know that to a certain extent, the ownership of those institutions are bought in. They're there most of the time. The owners themselves, and then they have obviously employees and the like, and they're doing everything they can, in my opinion, to keep their head above water. And so I'm going to try to make sure I don't pull them below it.
And I think I was going to go a little bit on that. And I was very strong with the hours about making sure we're there from this time to that time. But I also realized that when you look back on it, we've got to make them successful, give them a chance to succeed. And I think with some of our future endeavors, as the downtown grows a little bit, those shops will become more successful. We know of a restaurant that was over in the SunTrust building at the time, which was Jimmy John's. I think Jimmy John's would be successful now, but he hung on for 5 years and he didn't make it, there. Now I think he's wishing he would have stayed a little longer because there's enough more activity, but within 2, 3, 4 years, it's even going to be better. So we want to give him that carrot to succeed without dictating some of it. So, Ms. Moore?
I echo your sentiments, and we talked about that as well in our one-on-one, because I do think that that is what would happen outside of the context of government, is that the landlord would have vetted the potential new tenant. I think that this speaks, though, to the bigger issue, which is that we have to figure out what we want to really, how are we going, what are the chess pieces of downtown that make it successful? Why are they still struggling? I'll just say again, maybe we can have a workshop where we just talk about our thoughts and dreams and goals for downtown and what we'd like to see there, so that we can move to the next step of asking staff to help us actually incentivize and bring that type of, all different diversity of type of establishments and community spaces. So I think we're finding ourselves in that rock and a hard place because we really haven't kind of done that yet. We're moving at, I know we have a lot going on. This is not a criticism as much as it is just on the list of things to do.
Well, I think, and I'll agree and disagree with you respectfully, that we have this little thing called the CRA that is doing a great job at starting some of that on our Main Street and has been doing it for years with some of the environment. And now the CRA is doing a great job with I think 16 different grants. And, maybe some of it's to the people that are already there, but without that next project, which we've already got in the process, there isn't that big step. And even though some of the things that we may not be doing, and we're planning on a workshop as far as, but we also didn't plan on whatever that first hurricane we had, Debbie, a few weeks, or
Right.
tropical storm, and then this coming up every time you turn around. But that's the timing of the year, so we know that. I'm not making excuses. But I think there is some of it that we'll be able to start processing and also planning. So, yeah. Yes.
I agree with you. The CRA should definitely be a part of the conversation, and the EDC as well. I think that we should be having, really robust conversations with both of those entities to try to figure out what we want to do and how to do it.
No, Mr. Perry.
And just briefly on this expanded conversation, generally speaking, 3 types of people go to downtown. People that live in downtown, people that work in downtown, and people that visit downtown. That's all. It's not more complicated than that. And really, when you see the housing development that is going on as it relates to currently at 920 and over on 9th and the Met even and some of those things, those are going to be people that increase density and live downtown, heads in beds. What do we have across the street? A hotel, people that visit downtown. And what do we have for work? We're trying to expand the economic vitality. We have government offices. That's not uncommon. In my prior jurisdictions, about 5:30, everybody left downtown because there was a lot of government offices. There were some hotels and the like. So I think we are trying to hit those on all fronts, and I think our CRA has been effective at doing that. But it's going to take time. It's going to take thoughtfulness, and I agree with a lot of what you said as far as trying to be intentional about it. But I think we have, before I came, currently, and moving into the future. And hopefully, it will become a fairly activated area. I know we have some fairly ambitious plans for some of the property, including ours.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve F. Start the vote in Ward 1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
And 5.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore for G.
Okay. I was able to talk to Mr. Perry about the change order and what, how we came to need it. And so really just for the interest of the public understanding what we're doing, I thought maybe he or someone involved in the project could speak to what is happening and what it's doing, even if it is just meat and potato kind of
Mr.
Perry.
conversation.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Counselor. We did have the opportunity to speak, and I actually took that opportunity, which was fairly early in my meetings with council, to explain to the other councilors as well. This was a situation where there is a fire line for water, basically, and a hydrant that is really right where the drive pad for the visitors' buses will be coming in, next to the visitors' clubhouse that we're doing. And usually, relocating a fire hydrant is fairly easy. You just basically turn a valve on one side of the water supply, turn a valve on the other, shut off the pressurization, and relocate your utility. This was a little bit of a problem to the extent of the valves had not been turned and exercised, and they felt that if they did go in there and turn the valve, it could cause a larger problem. And so what we're having to do is to basically put an additional valve in, and then we can relocate our utility. So that's the nature of it. It was not anticipated when we initially cost and estimated the project, and hence it's a change order related there too. Is that fairly correct, Mr. Williams? Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right, that's all, Mr. Kramer. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes. Yes.
1.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Mr. Kramer?
For item
K.
Okay.
K, I had a chance to talk with Mr. Perry about it during our meeting, and I was waiting to hear back from you on this topic. I had questions regarding the timing of retirees and when they would be eligible for basically that 2012 to 2024 date. I didn't think that was going to apply in the way it's spelled out.
Sure, and perhaps Mr. Williams can approach the podium to provide some clarification, and we may have to amend that. What you pointed out to me was, I don't necessarily think what we were intending to do, because it cut out a certain class of employees.
Okay.
And if you'd like to expound on that, it might be helpful for
Yeah.
Mr. Williams to understand it.
So, under the eligibility on page.
And I apologize, I'm sorry, let me apologize that I wasn't able to get with this. I've been doing some other things the
Yeah,
last couple
you've
of
been
days.
busy. I get it. Under the eligibility portion on page 2 of the actual plan.
Okay.
It was my understanding from conversations that basically anybody who was currently on the plan and was stepping aside would be eligible for that going forward.
This statement, correct.
Whereas in the first bullet point, it says that they'd be able to get anything and keep the stipend for a city plan. Whereas then in the next, under general, the first bullet point on the next category, it says under any health insurance plan. And I thought that's how it was supposed to be for really anybody who was stepping out. We're giving all the retirees a chance who are currently on the city plan to opt out and potentially one day opt back in. And I thought part of that incentive was going to be, we're letting you opt out and here's that $300 stipend, which now you've bifurcated and only allowed to certain retirees. Future retirees.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. So general policy, 421. Yeah, the intent was anybody that's actively on the city's insurance, if they decided to get off, it would keep the stipend.
And Mr. Councilor Kramer has pointed out that there's just a conflict in the language
Right,
about that. That
right.
was my understanding of the intent as well.
Mhm.
Right.
And
It would
we
still
talked
keep
about
it.
why we want to incentivize that and the
Right,
benefit to the city's insurance program solvency. So if we could pass this with the caveat that we make those consistent and provide the stipend. We can correct the error as a matter of policy. That would be sufficient.
Yeah, I would
And I
just
don't
like to
know-
memorialize that language as we approve,
Yep.
if that's possible.
Yep.
That-
And that's, we talked about it where this, and just for the general public that doesn't know, we've had several meetings, and it's been a couple of years, we've been talking about how do we allow individuals that, especially in some of our early retirement areas of age-wise, that if they get another job, it's actually maybe cheaper for them to go to another policy, which then would save our plan money, but they're afraid to leave it because once they had left it, they can never come back. But if we give an individual that's got another job and he's got 20 years of service, he could be on that for 20 years, then hop back in. But for 20 years, we've saved that money.
Right.
So ultimately, it is a benefit to the retired employee and a benefit to the city. It's a paperwork nightmare at times, but it's still going to be a plan that will help both.
That's correct. And in addition to that, I think what Councilor Kramer's point was is that we provide a stipend, basically, and we charge we charge the retiree for their insurance. And they pay basically 100%. Is it 100% or 75? The flip
For the retiree?
for the retiree.
No, we pay 25%.
Yeah, we pay 25, they pay 75, right.
yeah,
But they may get the stipend that offsets
Right.
some of that,
And-
right?
And so what we end up with is two costs. One is paying the stipend itself, as well as paying for the individual to be on an insurance, both administratively for the claims, having that member on there. We pay $47 a month per member to Florida Blue to administer the program.
Right.
We also pay a portion for excess coverage, and we pay the largest section for their claims experience, because we're self-insured. So why would we want that employee, basically, who we're gonna have to give the stipend to anyway, to go to a secondary insurance, whether it's through a new employer or a senior care program, if it's Medicare or the like, because then we take them off our claims experience
Right.
role. And that's the biggest cost of the insurance. And this doesn't incentivize that, and I agree with Council on that. So we want it to. And
Right,
and there
right.
seems to be a
That- yeah, that's the
conflict
intent,
in the
correct.
language.
And I think it was meant to be in there, it just got written
I think
Correct.
that's what it
funky.
was.
Exactly.
Because that's all we talked about in the meeting, so good catch on that.
Because the second half talks about it.
But, and that stipend is not something we're given, that's something they've earned in their number of years of service through their contracts and different with that. So it's not, we're saying, here's money to get off, we're saying, this is what you've earned, so you get to keep that. And that helps you offset anything else if you go on another policy, because I really think that that's something that kudos to the insurance committee as well as the staff. And even though it is, like I said, a little bit of a paperwork nightmare, ultimately, we're memorializing it, because when that person comes back in 20 years and they say, oh, no, you don't get that, we won't be here. So we want to make sure it's easily understood, and we want people to utilize it.
Yeah, it's mutually beneficial.
Oh, yeah,
I
no.
agree with you. Both
Yeah.
state
Yeah, and there's-
finances as well as the insured retiree member. For sure.
Yeah, and there was, if everybody remembers, there was, questions about dates and retirees. So we're trying to clean all that up.
Clean all
So
it up.
when we're all gone and retired, enjoying life, and we're on the other end of that, the people after us don't have to go through that same.
Well, because we'll be the ones collecting at that point.
No, right, exactly.
Well, I'll be collecting again at that point. So here's the other point of that. This reads, as I read it, that it's letting anybody who retired 2012 to 2024 now retroactively in to give them that $300 back. Is that
So if you're actively on the insurance
right now?
and you're getting a
We're
stipend,
talking as of like
October 1.
October 1 or September, whatever today's date is, because that's the difference. That's where people who opted out, thinking that this was going to be that they were going to get that $300, that's why a good number, I believe, opted out.
I see. So, may I clarify what we're doing? Are you suggesting that we just need to change, but before September 25?
It was supposed to be current enrollees who were currently enrolled, and we're going to opt out for 24, 25 and beyond. We're going to get that stipend
Correct.
to help incentivize
Yeah,
that.
so I think maybe the confusion, correct me if I'm wrong, but the confusion, if they've already decided to opt out, the date they made that decision isn't what the effective date is. The effective date is October 1st.
That's it. That's the beginning of the insurance period. That the other date is the open enrollment and processing period.
Right.
I get that, but that's because you have to do it early. You have to do it during the open enrollment.
Right.
That's a little, that's not how it was explained and how people were being told about it. I think they were thinking, hey, as a retiree having this first time ever option of opting out, it was gonna be with this, sorry, I lost it, with this stipend potentially coming to them.
Right.
That's how anybody I would dare say if you polled and there were a significant number of retirees who came to these meetings.
Right.
If you polled them, they would think that it was, as I'm explaining, not as.
We're saying the same thing, I
Them
think.
opting out doesn't begin
Until October 1st. So even if they decided to do it a week ago, that's not the
So they're
effective
good.
date. They're good.
They're good.
Yeah, they're just saying October 1.
Official
this
meeting.
is my new plan, this is my
Official
new
meeting,
decision.
we're all saying they're good.
Correct.
Right, but it's already what they're getting
Right.
as a retiree. Because some of them get more than $300.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, if you were off of our insurance already, and
You're done.
you've been off of it for
Yeah,
2 years, you don't
exactly.
get to come
Okay,
back.
That's
Right.
why I want to make sure that wasn't somehow
Yeah,
gonna
no. Yeah,
sneak
it's-
back in, because that's,
Yeah, I think.
as any city plan. It's giving this option for any city plan.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure there's not some retiree who's going to come challenge that and say, hey, that caveat you've got in there says that anybody who's retired in that 2012 to 2024 can now come in and say, I want that $300 stipend.
That weren't getting it before.
That weren't getting it because they opted out. I want to make sure that somebody doesn't think they can opt back in.
What you are right now.
Right. If they opted out, they opted out.
They opted out.
Right.
But if they just now opted out,
Well, they're not opting out till technically October
till,
1st.
right,
1, correct.
right. I'm saying
September
of
30th.
prior year opt-outs.
Yeah, and we can specify the language, or we can change some of the language to be a little more specific.
Okay.
But yeah, the intent, if they're in the enrollment period and they decide to make the change, October 1 is their effective date,
Right.
which is what we tried to refer to in the policy, and they would get the stipend.
Okay.
That is the intent of it, of the
Okay.
policy, yep.
Then I would approve it with that intent and that language modification forthcoming. Do we
All
need
right, so
any
we have a
type of-
motion by Mr. Kramer as
Hold on a
stated. Mr. Rudisell?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, excuse me, that everybody understands the intent and the caveats that Councilman Kramer raised and that are being approved with the resolution. And my further understanding is that a corrected version or an updated version of the policy would then come back to the council. Is that the expectation for ratification?
I was hoping that that wasn't going to be necessary, that we can make the correction and.
As
under
stated
as stated,
motion.
Under the proviso that was pointed out and discussed. And obviously, if it is not sufficient, it could come back to the council for correction further. But we do have time of the essence situation is our problem,
Would
because
we
we're
need to
going into a
take
new
minor
insurance period.
recess to hammer that language out? maybe?
Well, again, if everyone understands what the intent is, I think it's fine to adopt it today with the caveats that were discussed. But ultimately, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, you still want to see that language come back to confirm that it
I want
is.
to make sure whatever policy is printed and distributed going forward has that language in it, of course.
Right, and that's
But
what I was saying.
But I am okay with accepting it now with those caveats brought forth.
Right, that was my suggestion, that we could go ahead and approve it today with the caveats, but that then it would come back to get stuck on another consent agenda just to ratify that the language was consistent.
I think that'd be fine if that's okay. Mr. Williams?
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and
Well, can we get a second first?
second.
Okay, so a second, and then now under discussion.
I mean, a lot of my decision, I mean, this is coming from our insurance committee, correct? And while you are a representative, I mean, y'all have hashed all this out. It's hard for me to come in now and start making the difference. I mean, is it okay
Well,
that
in fairness,
we aren't taking it back to that committee? Because this is coming from the committee.
what was discussed in committee and what is printed are not matching up.
I agree.
It was supposed to be, the concerns I brought up, that Mr. Perry was present for also recalls, and the mayor as well, and Mr. Williams all agree that what's printed isn't quite accurate and needs to be modified to what the,
And I don't think it was
the committee
intentional
intended.
changed in the document.
No,
I
it's
think
just
it was
a-
just the way it was read to make sure
Right.
that, because nobody was losing anything that they had now if they opted out for the moment. Because they may opt out for a year, 5 years, 10 years, forever. But they're still gonna get their supplement, whether it's $100, $300, or some are getting $400 and $500, depending on contract
and
negotiations.
that's not how, that wasn't
How
clearly
it
specified
read.
in this,
Right.
which is what we need to change.
Even though that was the intent, they're gonna get that corrected.
I'm
Ms. Moore?
I'm hesitant to adopt something that is not what the committee's understanding was. And I think my preference would be to go ahead and let Mr. Kramer and Mr. Rudisil and Mr. Williams revise their motion to specify what is going to
Problem
be
is
changed.
then we have to have a special meeting before October 1.
No, I mean today.
Oh, you mean just write it
and-
right
and
now?
Friendly
Take a
amendment to the motion, please
5-minute
explain what you
recess.
would like to change.
I think what she's asking is that the motion would include specifics about what is being modified in the policy.
Mr. Williams, can you read that as what it would state?
And I don't think it necessarily needs to be the final language, but in terms.
The intent is there.
What is the intent that's being?
We've already said that. We
So,
know what the
let me,
intent is.
if I
Oh, we
can-
talked about it for 10 minutes. So I think that's the question, is what exactly is,
If I, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can refer to page 2 again, that, under eligibility, the first bullet point, the last 3 words that read any city plan, I believe should read any health insurance plan. Which is the same as it is down in the next general category.
Right, the only problem is that first section was what was in the policy before. I think the confusion lies in the actual title of it, if you will, where it talks about on or after October 1, 2012, but before October 1, 2024. I think it's the before October 1, 2024 that's the confusing part.
Well, may I?
Because when that policy was written, it was just the city plan.
Right.
Right, so the additional language, which was the second half, is everybody that is retiring on or after October 1, that they get the stipend. If they're I think it's if they're currently on the city plan, so I think there's more than just changing 1 or 2 words. So if we're gonna change the policy now before we, adjourn the council meeting, we're gonna.
No, so then let me ask this, because then I do have some concerns or some understanding of what we talked about. So you're saying between 2012 and 2024 that any retiree that opted out doesn't get to opt back in to get the $300 to opt back out.
Right,
So that's understandable,
and that's the way it was prior.
right, because they've already opted out. You're saying any retirees after October 1, 2024
Right.
will be able to opt out,
Keep the stipend.
keep the stipend, but the ones that are still, because even retirees or future retirees.
Right,
But if they did something in 2012 and opted out and aren't getting a stipend, they don't get to add the stipend
they
back.
get to come back.
Right. The only ones who were, as we were discussing it, would have been the ones that are leaving in 23, 24 for
Yeah,
24,
they still
25.
get, if they're on it and they're getting the stipend, they continue to get the stipend. They just don't pay to the city of Bradenton. They pay to their new employer, or they get their new employer's insurance. I think that's what I understood.
Right. And that's why we put it, the second half, well, that's why we changed it to any health insurance plan, whereas before it was specific. When you got the stipend, prior to us making any changes, it was only applicable to the city plan.
Right.
Because once you were off the city plan, you no longer got the stipend. And so with the health insurance committee and everybody getting together to decide, hey, this is something we want to continue regardless of what insurance plan you have. But that's only effective October 1. So again, if I, during enrollment, open enrollment, if I decided October 1, I'm changing, I'm eligible for that continued stipend. But if I changed it 2 years ago,
Right.
I can't come back and get it right.
That's one of the
That's
things.
the way I read it, so I don't know if we're trying to over wordsmith it to confuse it, or if people, because we know even some of the things that happened during the insurance committee, people overthought it, and they were thinking this was happening. But we don't want to have to hire lawyers to fight it out back and forth for that. So that's what I think the confusion is. Mr. Perry, did you have something else before I go to Ms. Moore?
No, sir.
Okay, I thought you, Ms. Moore?
Do I understand the nature of the confusion? I think what I'm hearing is perhaps the problem is that the two categories are retiring on October 1, but what I'm hearing from you is that really it is their enrollment date. So it's not that they're, so Mr. Kramer is talking about the date of their retirement. The language says retirement, but really what we're trying to accomplish is when they were enrolled in whatever plan. Do I understand that correctly?
The effective date, right, the effective date of the health insurance enrollment.
So if we just corrected, if you, instead of saying retiring on, maybe you have to say both. Maybe you have to reference the effective date as October 1, but the retirement date as being not October 1. Would that alleviate the confusion? Because it sounds like those dates are not the same.
So, Mr. Rudisell, if we took a break.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Just to say, because again, I think we need to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to push this down the road because of the insurance. But we want them to understand it, that nobody's losing anything currently. It's just we can't allow people to come back if they've already left, unfortunately.
Right. We just need to make sure that the policy is clear to everyone.
And I think, like I said, in the insurance committee, and not to offend anybody, but sometimes we overthink it in the audience and at the insurance committee, that the big bad city's out to get them, and we're trying to make it a better policy. Right or wrong, it's just, we've tried to make everything that we've done since I've been here better and save us money and save them money, but give them opportunity to succeed for the future. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just add one thing? This has been, Scott has reviewed it. It's also been before the Pension Council. It's also been before Labor Council. And they made some of the suggested changes.
To protect all of the employees that, because of some confusion, that it's not. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that, again, it's not saying that you're gonna lose your stipend. It's just saying you can't come back if you already left between 2012 and 2024, if I'm understanding it right.
No, that's
Right.
right.
But I'm going to use an example of retired Lieutenant James Wilkinson. He retired in 2020, I believe, went to the sheriff's office. Hasn't gone on their insurance. I think his family's on a different insurance because his wife works somewhere else. He stayed on the city plan because, under the understanding, if you give it up, you lose it forever. He didn't want that to be the case. So he has stayed on it. Now, with the understanding of what's coming, he is opting out. The way this reads, he is one of
getting a
those,
stipend right now?
he is getting the stipend because he's on the city plan.
Right.
Yeah. But the way this is reading, October 1st, 2012, but before October 1st, 2024, would still get a stipend on any city plan. That's where I'm coming up with the issue, and I don't think that
That wasn't the intent.
that was the intent. And I
Just
promise,
to
and I
keep his
promise you the
intent.
unions would be okay with it not saying that
Right.
and saying any health insurance plan. I have strong confidence in that being the case because it's protecting their retirees and it's giving them a benefit.
Well, it was intended for them to keep whatever they already had.
Exactly.
Right,
For the current opt-outs this year.
right. And in the future.
Correct.
If you retire in
Yeah.
3 years, you still keep your stipend, whether you stay on the city plan or go to another plan.
Correct. But here's the other point. there's several members of the committee in the room right now. You, me, one of us.
Rob's not a committee member.
No, I know Rob and Lance aren't, but
We talked.
one of us would be able to go discuss this. I just want to make sure we both don't go out of the room and talk about it,
Oh, no, we won't.
so,
But you can talk with them.
okay.
But, I don't know, is that just a one-word change there on that sentence?
I want to make sure we're all in consensus.
City plan or any plan? But, like I said,
I want to make sure we're in consensus, that it's really, that it almost has the caveat of current opt-outs, not past opt-outs, because this opens up a lot of people who recently retired, who said, I'm not going to join the plan.
Why don't we
Certain
take a break?
administrators in City Hall, for example.
And I think just the one word change and maybe add a word about current plan or something along that line so that you,
I'm
I
fine.
understand the two things you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I get them, and I think we can probably deal with it fairly effectively and quickly.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Can I see the paperwork?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Don't tell him that. Good eye, good eye.
All right, we'll come back out of recess. Mr. Perry.
Mayor, we've had the opportunity to meet and confer basically on trying to minimize the ambiguity that exists. And I think where we're at is we agree with Councilor Kramer trying to bring about clarification of this. And we'd like to do is suggest, with Councilor Kramer's permission, an adoption of the policy as provided. And what we will do is subject to a clarification of definition that we will bring before council at the next council meeting to clarify one specific problem that seems to be developing with some of the ambiguity of the language.
I'm in agreement with that.
So you'll accept that as your motion. Will the seconder accept that?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Sir.
Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 3.
Yes.
4, 5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Madam Clerk.
Thank you all.
At this time, I'll administer the oath. Anyone wishing to address City Council during the following public hearing will please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and representations which you are about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? I do. Thank you. Item 7A is the second reading and public hearing for ordinance 4039, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, providing for an amendment to the City of Bradenton Land Use Atlas, changing zoning from UV Urban Village to R4 Mobile Home for approximately 10.93 acres of land, generally located east of 16th Street West, south of 21st Avenue West, north of 26th Avenue West, west of 14th Street West, and more particularly described herein, providing for findings of fact, providing for applicability, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, good morning, City Council. I'm Jamie Schindwolf with the Planning Department, and I have been sworn. This is a request, as stated, to rezone land from Urban Village to R4, which is mobile home. This is our subject area. It is part of the Tropical Palms community on Tamiami Trail. Here you can see the zoning right now is UV, and the future land use is UV Urban Village as well. Request as stated. And the subject area, I did want to point out, hold on, we're getting there. Well, there might not be an aerial here, but I do want to point out, here you can see Tamiami Trail. They're directly on Tamiami Trail. It sort of cuts, it's an L shape, right? So within that, the nook of that L, where it's T4O, that is where their sort of community center is located, and that's important because that will not be harmed by this rezoning. That does not create any sort of nonconformity because that's not part of the rezoning. The rezoning is only this area you can see in this L shape. Here's some photos of the view across Tamiami Trail as well as part of the rezoning request. And this list, don't need to read it, but you can see that there's a lot of things that are permitted in urban village zoning and not many things that are permitted in mobile home zoning. Single family dwellings are permitted, which falls in line with mobile homes, and that's what they're seeking to do. The main reason they're coming in is because they have run into some issues with the dimensional requirements in the urban village zoning. They've had to come in for a number of variances with our planning commission for things like setbacks, and this will make it so they won't need to put that burden on their residents. And we're not totally sure when that UV zoning was put into place. We think there were some redevelopment plans that never materialized, and so now they're just remaining as the community that they are today. They want to continue that on forward, but they want their residents to be able to, you know, bring in a new home or put up a fence, things like that, without having so many hoops to jump through with the city. Here's the criteria for the designations. This is also in the staff report, which you all have. Small lot, single family dwellings are a listed category within the urban village future land use, so staff finds that R4 does make sense with that future land use. No compatibility concerns. This does not increase the allowed density or intensity. no issues with public interest, and we find it consistent with the land use regulations. And Planning Commission did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning request. There's been a large gap between Planning Commission and here because we wanted to make sure they had an accurate legal description of the specific area that they're asking for the rezone, and they have done that, and that is in the packet as well as in the ordinance. And we do have some representation from the park here if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Okay, any questions or concerns? I think this is mostly just as the mobile homes have gotten older, they want to update them and make it easier to put them in with the water lines and everything else, that they're not going site by site and taking a long time. So I think it's really just to really improve the park, and with being a homeowner's park, they want to make it easier. So that's what I know. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, with regard, because I couldn't see, I mean, do they have like parcel size? I couldn't tell what size these parcels are. I ran into this previously with some of the older mobile home parks. The lot sizes are extremely small, and you can't even buy new mobile homes that'll fit on those.
Yeah, that is what's happening. They have really small lots, and I think they can fit them on there, but the setbacks in UV are very big, especially for the side setbacks, and so they're not being able to fit them on there and meet the UV standards. So the R4, I don't unfortunately have it in the presentation, but they have a much smaller setback requirement.
Okay.
And so it shouldn't cause that
Yeah, because
concern.
I really don't want to, I want to encourage the replacement from the old to the new. And so I hope this will help do that, but I know that's a challenge. And then they'll go to new codes, correct? They'll meet the new, they have to be at a certain sea level, I think now. Yeah, it's a higher than what was
Right.
required before.
If they're doing a full replacement, then yes.
Okay, anybody else? All right, so we'll go to public comment. Public hearing, yep. All right, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Kramer?
Thank you, sir. Move to approve ordinance 4039.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Ms. Vice Mayor Barnaby. Any other discussion?
I think I'm happy we're able to hopefully do this. It's something that's been needed for a little while by the park. They've asked for it for a while.
And obviously, we know that's one of our historic parks in the city of Bradenton that actually started Tin Can Tourist Park and really historic. So we want to keep that park and keep it in the generational changes that come with cars to travel trailers to what it is now. So we'll start the vote in Ward 4.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Next, Madam Clerk.
Item 7B is the second reading and public hearing for ordinance 4052, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, amending Chapter 6 alcoholic beverages to modify the hours of sale and consumption of alcohol to reflect that no alcohol may be sold or consumed on premises after 2 a.m. Amending Section 3 of Ordinance 4047 to reflect that no alcohol may be sold or consumed on premises after 2 a.m. Providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date.
And who's going to speak to this for staff? I think we've talked about it quite a bit, Mr. Rudisil.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to it. I prepared the ordinance at the direction of City Council during the public hearing when the prior after midnight permit ordinance was being considered. This reflects the change that was requested to move the final hours of sale or consumption from 2:30 to 2 a.m.
Okay, so we'll go to the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve ordinance 4052.
Second.
I heard Ms. Coachman first. And I would just like to start off with comments of, there was some concern that I talked with several business owners that talked about possibly moving back 30 minutes might take some time off of their, when you add it over a 12-month period. And then I did do an interview yesterday with one of the news channels. And looking at that, I really believe that when people feel safer all the way around, more people will come early on. When you had, I've heard from people that weren't coming after 10 o'clock because they didn't feel safe. So in reality, if everything is working the way we hope, they may actually make more money because more people will be down at a time. So, you know, as we know, I look at the glass half full 99.9% of the time. So I'm sticking with that, and I hope that's the case, that it shows that we aren't taking away, we're actually giving them opportunity to have more. And we'll see how it works out. One thing I did tell that, you know, with any ordinance, we can change it with 2 meetings, so if something's not working right, we can adjust it. So, any other comments?
Oh,
Yes.
just, I'd still like to see it earlier, but I'm glad we're moving in the right direction. Just got to beat my drum. And this goes into effect today? Am I reading this correctly? September the 25th upon?
Assuming the mayor executes it today, yes.
Okay. Okay.
We're in disaster mode. No. Ms. Moore?
I was going to ask, so thank you for your comments, because I had heard from a few establishment owners previously, but after our last meeting when we directed Attorney Rudisil to do this, I had not heard any other comments. So I'm hoping that the establishments are on board, and I'd like to see the flexibility, and I think that it just speaks again to like what we want to see downtown. And I would like to reiterate that we want to support even the establishments that are serving alcohol. I don't want to infringe on their ability to earn their income, but I'd like to see them woven into a tapestry that has diversity of establishments so that they all can be successful.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Thank you. Carries 5-0. Madam Clerk.
The next item is the second reading and public hearing for ordinance 4053, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, amending the City of Bradenton Code of Ordinances, Section 26-38, to modify provisions relating to the powers, duties, and procedures of city officials in a disaster emergency, providing for codification, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Any staff to talk to this, or?
I could probably take this one too,
Yeah,
Mr.
okay,
Mayor. This
thank you.
was the item we discussed. It is, the only change here is that it would allow for the city council to authorize the mayor or city administrator to renew a state of declared emergency.
Because we do that weekly,
Correct.
and it was becoming, as people travel and different things, we will still do it, but we will still keep the council informed, and at meetings, if we can do it, we will continue to process through that way. This is only in an emergency when we don't have that.
And it's only for an extension, Mayor, not
Extension,
for
Correct.
initial
Right.
declaration. Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
And this might be for Attorney Russo. The way I read the addition, the use of the word may, does that mean, I'm assuming that then we have discretion depending on the nature of the emergency. So if it is an impending storm, as we've just been going through, that would make sense, but a different type of unforeseeable disaster, we don't have to.
That's correct.
We could decide, okay.
Yeah, it's up to the city council at the time whether they wish to authorize those extensions to be done administratively.
And again, as we know, on any moment in time, things work well. City council at any moment in time can change this with 2 readings to go through things if something interesting happens.
If you start abusing her.
Okay.
Trouble.
So Chair, public comment, public hearing. Chair will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Move
ma'am.
to approve ordinance 4053.
40, yep. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Did I do the
Okay.
right one?
We have a motion by Councilwoman Coachman, second by Councilwoman Coker. Any other discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir.
So will approving this today allow us to allow the mayor under Resolution 2496 that we're currently under for state of emergency, to allow him or the city administrator to continue based on projected damage coming to the city?
So that would be done whenever that resolution would be renewed, which I guess would be next Tuesday, if there was a meeting. At that time, the city council could, and we could draft it into the resolution to say, city council authorizes the mayor or administrator to extend it, you know, for so long as the city is, and we can come up with language if the council wanted to do that. Yes.
So what about our Friday from Debbie?
I don't think so.
We'd have to do
I don't believe it was originally authorized, and, you know, it's retroactive application and the like. And so I think coming up this Friday from Debbie, if we were to seek an extension of the emergency declaration for Debbie, we'd have to do a special meeting.
Either special meeting or we are not in town, and then we can,
Or-
then I
or-
can
right.
sign it from
Sure.
that standpoint.
Yeah, unavailability.
Yep, okay. All right, because I know the county's probably gonna go another 5 weeks on their extensions, so they'll do that Thursday from Debbie, from what they're saying, because they're still having dam issues. So I don't know that we will, but we'll figure that out over the next day or so.
But if we had a special meeting, we could incorporate that into the resolution at that time. Yes.
Okay. All right, so, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 1.
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3, 4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Thank you, carries 5-0. Moving on, Mr. Perry.
Mayor, we have pulled item A, which is the City Administration Affordable Housing Surplus Property Bid Review. We have some issues regarding public notice on that provision, and so we could pull that right now.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Mayor, item number B, City Administration's brief presentation for water treatment plant updates. I wanted to touch base with council and then move to the podium to do so. And I believe we have a video as well. Is the video ready to go, Ms. Melton?
I have it.
You can just stand by on that. Mayor, we've been in the process where we're still trying to recover from Debbie and the storms that were surrounding that period of time thereafter. As council knows, it was the wettest, highest rainfall in the Sarasota and Bradenton area ever on record. It was in the area of, I believe, 47.33 inches over the June 1st period till August 30th. It had never been recorded that high. The average for that period of time is about 22 inches, and so we were quite honestly double what the average is. We were experiencing flows at our wastewater treatment plant at peak levels of 27 million gallons per day, and that basically overtook the capacity of the plant. The plant is still trying to recover. We have Jacobs Engineering consultants out there that are trying to help us with that. But I think there's a larger story, and that is basically that we have looked at these issues well before Debbie, and we have been facing them and fixing them. You know, I've pointed out to council that out of the $11 million in ARPA funding, American Rescue and Recovery Act funding that we received, I believe it was in 21 is when we received it, that over $9 million has gone to deal with pipelining, to minimize inflow and infiltration. 65 miles of identified and characterized by the Public Works Department of clay pipes, corrosive pipes, cast iron and the like, that unfortunately when you drive down the older parts of the city, you see older houses, older buildings, older roads, older trees, older everything, right? It's because we're an older city, like many great cities in the country. But with older cities, what you don't do is look underground to see what kind of pipes they have. And if those pipes and the manholes that are made out of brick, actual bricks that have mortar that people had built back in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, if you look at those manholes, they've corroded. And so when those billions of gallons of rain deluge a community like they did to us, to Sarasota, to Tampa, to pretty much everybody in Southwest Florida, you have a problem called inflow and infiltration. And that thereby, you know, a plant that typically is handling about 6 million gallons of water a day, that's what we put out through our water plant itself, through the system. Well, it's a closed loop system. Everything that comes through a faucet should come back into us through a drain. 6 equals 6. Here we had 6 equals 27 because of inflow and infiltration over a prolonged period. Those manholes, those pipe linings, the lift stations themselves, we have replaced and repaired a lot of them using a variety of different funding sources, both utility rate funding that had been put in place years ago. We've borrowed up to $47 million to deal with additional clarifier, which is a very large, heavy civil construction project out at the wastewater treatment reclamation plant. We've done headworks improvements. We're dealing with probably over $2 million of emergency repairs to things like the screw press and other types of components out at that wastewater treatment plant that's well over 35 years old now. And we have faced it, and we're going to continue to face it, continue to fix it. So I wanted to show a couple videos.
Yeah, and before we start the videos, when you look at these videos, one of them is a news channel, one of them is another one that we made in-house. We're going to ask, and we hope that every council person accepts that we're going to have you involved in videos too, and it may be crucial to some of your areas, it may be crucial to some of the plant areas, but we're going to try to incorporate those in with it. So this is just the start of it. Now, David and Tiffany will get with you to kind of coordinate some ideas on that. So that's what's coming. Yes. We just think that, you know, as I said earlier, we may not sell ourselves well enough just because we're all humble people and we want to do stuff without people knowing. But unfortunately, we have to let the public know what we're doing on this part of it to know that there hasn't been inactivity in the last several years.
Yeah, if I
Yes,
might,
ma'am.
I really am so glad to see us putting some of this stuff together, because I think in the absence of the facts, a lot of rumor and innuendo is being pushed out there for whatever reason, I don't know. But this helps me to be able to respond to people and to have facts and not rumor. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to run the videos. We can talk a little bit more about what Mayor was referring to as far as public awareness. It's not that we have a public that misunderstands things. People don't know about what utility systems are. A wastewater system is no more than a collection system, a pump system that relays the water to a plant, and it treats and a treatment plant. I mean, there's 3 components to it. But you do hear things, some folks that say things like, well, Longboat Key and South Sarasota Bay must be affected by the wastewater spill. Entirely different watershed, different storm water goes into there, let alone wastewater. Most people don't even know the difference between the two and the like. But let's play the video, and I think it highlights a couple of important things.
The city of Bradenton's wastewater treatment system usually processes 5 or 6 million gallons per day. The recent heavy rains pushed that up to 27 million gallons, which overwhelmed the system and caused partially treated wastewater to be discharged into the Manatee River. Well, those discharges have stopped, and city officials say upgrades to the water reclamation facility were already underway even before the heavy rains. As Fox 13's Kimberly Quizan reports, the mayor says the city is fixing old infrastructure, but it doesn't happen overnight.
At the City of Bradenton's water reclamation facility, millions of dollars in projects are well underway.
We want people to know that there's been projects going on and in the works for quite a time.
For Mayor Gene Brown, it's a top priority.
And one of the most important things to me is our water quality and what we do into our river.
Last month, more than 50 million gallons of partially treated wastewater poured into the Manatee River. The Department of Environmental Protection sent a warning letter to the city over what happened. but the city says it was unavoidable.
When you have 50+ inches over a 3.5-month period, there's a lot of stormwater still out there saturating into our old pipes, and that's what's overwhelming our system.
The city of Bradenton says aging pipes and manholes allowed excess stormwater to enter the system. $9 million has been spent on lining half of the city's 65 miles of old pipes. Another $15 million in improvements is planned.
Something that's happened over the last 40, 50, 60 years, you can't fix overnight, but you've got to fix it in a time period.
$50 million have been borrowed to expand the plant's capacity. $13 million is being spent on well drilling and technology to stop wastewater discharges into the Manatee River.
It's a challenge, and we're not the only folks to face that challenge that run a utility in our local government, but I think we're one of the fastest to really face the problem and to fix it.
The city of Bradenton has $100 million in planned improvements to the plant, but it will take time.
When you look at the totality of all the work that's being done, both on the collection side out in the city, as well as here on the treatment plant side here, you're hard-pressed to say that there has been any sort of inaction.
In Bradenton, Kimberly Quizon, Fox 13 News.
Mayor Brown tells us he plans to work with the DEP and state legislature to speed up the permit process. He says some of their projects took years before the DEP signed off.
Hi, I'm Mayor Gene Brown. We're here at our wastewater reclamation facility. We're here to talk about our Face It and Fix It approach. As mayor, I believe in being upfront with the challenges our city faces. The truth is, Bradenton's infrastructure, like many older cities, has aged, and recent events such as unprecedented rainfall have exposed weaknesses in our sewer and wastewater systems. These issues didn't happen overnight, and they won't be solved overnight either, but it's crucial we face them head on. That's why we've adopted the Face It, Fix It approach. This isn't just about patching things up temporarily. It's about a long-term commitment to modernizing our infrastructure so Bradenton can thrive for generations to come. It's an acknowledgement that the problems we face are real, but with smart investments and strategic actions, we can fix them.
So those are just a couple of examples of us trying to improve the public awareness about the issue itself, and as the mayor said, be upfront about where we're at and where we're going. And I think anybody that wants to write on this subject or
Opine?
journalize, whatever, opine, whether you're an opinion writer or a journalist, do the research. And you will see that the city has made significant investments. Come out to the plants. Look at the biggest hole in the ground in Bradenton as it relates to the largest heavy civil construction project that I've seen in the city. Go look at the manholes and the connection boxes that are sitting, that we're putting in place throughout the city to minimize I&I. And most importantly, look at the voting record of public officials on that ARPA that decided to support fixing the problem opposed to those that voted against fixing the problem. Do your homework. And I think when you do, you'll see that we are trying to do everything we can to improve the infrastructure and ultimately protect the environment.
We also have a brochure that Tiffany is working on and done a great job. So I would task everyone here to maybe read through that and see if there's anything that we can improve on that, whether it's some things that we might find, but we haven't mass produced them yet because we wanted to give it out to the first part and see if you see anything that we can improve on, and we'll go from there. And again, one of the things to me is to face it and fix it, because again, we don't control what's happened in the past in a lot of ways, and we all enjoyed it, but now let's get it done. And everything we talked about today from the beginning, when Chief gave out the awards to those 11 groups, it's all about the children and the generational situations that we're going to work to change, and as well as improving what we do day to day. And one thing that I do want to say to the public, and if you're listening out there, we have a lot of issues we're dealing with, whether it's potholes, whether it's other things as simple as through our public works and some issues. You know, we have a great staff throughout all of our public works, our police, our fire, our administration, UB billing, every department we have. And those individuals are doing a great job to keep their motion going. Through this storm, we have people taking that extra little step. We have people that are doing a little more sweating, packing the sandbags and doing that, going over. And we thank them for that. And we thank them for taking that extra. We're going to have some outtakes maybe after this storm. Hopefully it stays and does the least amount as it goes forward. But I just want everybody to look back and think about Charlie. Charlie was going to hit the Tampa Bay area at one point when the directional, and it took a hard right and hit the Port Charlotte, Charlotte Harbor area. And I still have friends down there that, after all these years, still have issues, and they're still processing through things because it takes 20, 30, 40 years for some of those things to come back. But be prudent in listening to what media talks about, what the weather channels talk about, what government talks about. And we're going to have staff that's going to come after the storm that's going to go do things. And, you know, you celebrate little wins and you work on the things that weren't so good. And in the city of Bradenton, during the last storm we had, we were fortunate. We had streets flooded, we had backyards flooded, we had ponds flooded, but I don't believe we had any houses flooded. So some of our programs over the years that we've done with our stormwater, especially in Village of the Arts and some of those areas, worked. Because 4 years ago, I was getting emails from people in those areas that were saying, it's in my garage, it's underneath my house, it's coming up. And this time through Debbie, we didn't. So let's hope through Helene that we survive. And, you know, the storm surge is going to be probably worse if it happens the way they're saying right now. We'll know more at 11, but just heed the warnings.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you,
Ask a
Mr. Perry.
question?
Yes.
With regard, I think I'm hearing estimates, how much for rainfall that they're anticipating?
With this upcoming storm,
I mean, obviously, nobody's got a
the
crystal
last
ball.
report we received on the 8 o'clock call was, I believe it was between 6 and 8. Could be as high as up to 10 inches.
And the storm surge 3 to 5 feet in this area right now.
But can our water treatment handle 6 to 8 inches right now, as it
It'll
is?
be significantly impacted by it.
Well, but I think also the way these storms move,
It's
it's
a
quicker.
fast-moving storm.
So it may not be
Yeah.
where Debbie had sustained for 2 counties, the whole borders. This looks like it's going to be
And
twisted.
even after Debbie, I mean, that we received, I think it was 8 inches for over a two-day period. It was crazy.
If
Yeah.
anything's a positive, when the heavier rains are going to be hitting is when the tides are going to be out if all of that sticks. So that's a positive. So everybody looks, so the faster it can get to the river, you know,
It'll be evacuated.
it'll be evacuated faster. So, but I want to commend our Public Works and Colonel Lee, and I don't see Brandy. Did she leave? She's probably working.
She's working.
She's working, so, but yesterday's PSOC meeting, all that, with just everything our staff is doing to make sure all of the drainage is open, all of the lift stations that need help in any way are being addressed. Some of the tiger dams that we're working on to protect things and really working.
We have 2 state missions going where we actually had tiger dams, which are portable dams. They're high-density plastic, and you fill them up with a fire hydrant, a fire hose. And basically, they're designed to protect against surge and flooding. And so we have one at Lift Station 14, and we have one up at our water plant to eliminate some overflow where we had salinity from Adelia, I think is what it was. But those were missions that were requested yesterday through the state program that we've never really availed ourselves to in the past. And they were loaded out of Orlando late last night. They arrived in the early morning. They were assembled early this morning, and they're being filled right now. If you look at the IAPs, the incident action plans that we've have, both from our public safety entities that have always been good at doing that because that's within their bailiwick. And Councilman Kramer has probably done many himself on behalf of Bradenton Fire Department, but Public Works is doing them now, and our other entities. And so our level of sophistication, our level of coordination as it relates to the planning aspect, the execution, operations, logistics, resources, and the like, and ultimately the facility that you so generously and wisely approved the construction of, have really added a lot to the city.
And that is, again, when you look at the collaboration and the teamwork through all of our departments, police, fire, public works, everywhere is bar none in a great way. So from my standpoint, and I'll speak for the council, I know they would all agree that we thank all that's being done from the administrator down, and
Got great people.
It's a team, so.
Across the board. As a matter of fact, may I be excused because I have to go out to the PSOC?
PSOC for 11 o'clock meeting. All right, is there any unfinished business?
Nothing further from the.
Any specific council reports?
Just one that I noticed on the news last night. The mayor of St. Petersburg was saying to people, after the storm, if you don't need to do laundry, don't be doing laundry, don't be adding more to our wastewater plants. So perhaps that's something that we need to put in our news releases as well, is any additional use of water that you can postpone until well after the storm has gone by would be most appreciated by everybody.
All right, anything else, council, other than 5:01 meeting?
I
Ms.
know.
Moore?
I'll be super quick. I was already going to note that with the king tide in recent times, and even literally this morning as I drove here to City Hall, my street was already flooding. And so I'm hoping that as we face it and fix it, and I'm sure we're going to, because the Colonel and Ms. Colanandra are very smart, that we will economies of scale and help the drainage as well as the stormwater treatment issues. And the lift stations, I just point out really quickly, in Debbie, 3 and number 2 were completely not functioning, and people were having sewage back up during Debbie, so I'm hoping, I think he just left, but hopefully he knows.
They're all
Pay
working,
attention
that's
to
where
2
they're
and 3,
going to
please.
work. Yeah, they're going to
I'm
work.
sorry, sir, one more thing if I could, because it affects both Ms. Moore's ward and mine. After the storm, and I don't care how big your truck is, please don't come down and drive along Riverview Boulevard, because what you do is you drive the water up into people's houses, you drive it further into the streets, and some of those low-lying areas did previously have water get into people's garages and such. It didn't happen during Debbie, but it has happened with another storm. So you really don't need to look, I promise you, you don't need to do it. It's not safe, it's not good.
All right, anything else? 5:01, it'll be, normal 5:01 meeting. Anything from any other staff? Hearing none, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.
Run home and do some more.